appropriate health care. Anybody, do you guys have any questions so far, or where you think I should be leading this conversation the short time we have? Somebody talk to me. Conroy?
The floor is yours for right now, Doc, until we get into the meat of the matter. Maybe they want to hear more
Okay.
before we, yeah. Yeah, so the floor is
Okay.
yours for right now.
So what I wanted to talk about today was a question of low T. Are you guys familiar with that? And you know where I'm heading with that?
Yes.
Okay. Is that an appropriate conversation for this meeting?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, Doc, go ahead.
Okay. So I have been approached, and the reason why I chose this meeting, and guys, sometimes you may not be able to get the words because I'm doing major dental work. But guys have been coming in asking about low T and how do we prevent it? How do we cure it? How do we treat it? And for the most part, most people think it's just a normal way of life as you get older. Your testosterone, low T means low testosterone levels. Testosterone gets lower and therefore causes a lot of other issues. And let me start by saying that low testosterone levels not only affect sex drive, but it also affects how the testicles function, um, uh, sexual development in boys, but it also supports muscle and bone strength, right? So we have quite a few of these hormones called androgens that that are converted to testosterone and testosterone and also estrogen. And so when we talk about sex drive, we really can. I'm wondering if you can see my face. Can
Yes.
you see my face?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, Doc.
okay. So when we talk about sex drive, we're always talking about a number, and that number has significance. Um, the range of testosterone is usually somewhere between 300 to 100 nanograms per liter. And if it goes below 300, I think guys start to see that and want to know why this is happening because it's associated with quite a few other things. The desire to have sex, and that is also complex. It's not just about low T, but low T functions big time there, right? A lot of it has to do with physical health. A lot of our people, because of having to work so much and a whole bunch of other things, they're not spending the time to build up their physical self. It's also can be associated with emotional health. As you all know, sex is not just about the organ, it has a lot to do with the emotional side. And the lifestyle, what we feed our bodies. You know, our bodies um, are our temples, but in many cases, people get so much into work and the daily grind of getting back and forth to work, taking care of the kids, making sure we do the shopping, deal with the spouse, that we forget ourselves in the process. And so, one of the biggest thing that I had coming out of this is to say, if you are experiencing, or any men or people you talk to, your guy friends, are experiencing low T, they need to go in and see a physician. They need to see their levels. As you know, Conroy, I'm big on making sure that at least you have the numbers that you can talk about. That's something that you could present and say, I'm having this
We
feeling.
got cut off. Yeah,
Sorry, I'm cutting off.
yeah, we're hearing you at one point.
Are you hearing now?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. So I usually suggest that you go to get seen by a professional, a doctor, most likely, and get your blood work done. And once you get the blood work done, you're then able to say, this is what's happening clearly. And then you could get some understanding of what needs to happen. Of course, the blood doesn't lie. So we know that once we get a blood level that's under 300 or so around that time, and it varies too with age, but if you are in your 40s, 50s, and you're starting to see these levels go down, then you know, or you know, you go to the doctor, you get the levels and they're down. Your next thing is, what do I do? And so it requires a change in behavior. And a lot of times people don't make those changes. So it continues. Um, it affects your physicality, as I said. But there's also, besides your thinking, oh, what do I do next? There's some things that you can fix. A lot of Black people tend to have high blood pressure. High blood pressure could be a factor in in the emotional side of, outside of the emotional side of your numbers going down and you're working too hard and all of that. But we really need to spend time understanding what else is going on around us and how we can get involved to fix it. So if you have high blood pressure and it's not being treated properly, and you're not taking your medication in some cases, then this condition could be exacerbated, right? If you're not exercising on a regular basis, even if you're just walking, you know, to work instead of driving, or, you know, taking the time to get some physical exercise in. I recently started swimming. I don't know how many of you are from Jamaica, but I find it interesting that we're from a country with a lot of water and most of us don't know how to swim. And all of you guys know how to swim? Hello?
Not 100%.
Huh?
Little bit.
Little bit.
Yeah.
So it's a time for us to now start thinking strongly about getting that exercise, making sure our treatment modalities, whether it's, you know, when you're talking about high blood pressure, I spend a lot of time writing about certain foods that can help with the blood pressure, because I know a lot of guys that come to see me, they don't want to take medication. I recently wrote an article that suggests that if you prepare sorrel without a lot of sugar and drink it every night, it can reduce your blood pressure as effectively as some of the main medications. So if you're hearing that, think on that and try to get that done, because it's something you can do easily that tastes good. A lot of us love our sorrel, right? And it also has proven clinically to help high blood pressure. There are other conditions or situations that may be causing low T. Anxiety, as we talked about, and it could even be that you're on medication for that. You know, antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication that could have effect. Um, some people involved in drug use. Um, Marijuana is one of the um, I wouldn't say medication, and wouldn't say it's something that a lot of people use to reduce stress. Um, and they smoke it as they choose in terms of what makes them feel better about what's going on sometimes. but it can also have effect on your libido. So I don't know if this is a good time to stop, but I also want to mention one other medication. A lot of my guys are on cholesterol medication. One of them is rosuvastatin. Another one is all the statins, in fact, that are used for cholesterol levels, where the doctor tells you if you don't take it, you'll have a heart attack or a stroke or whatever. And in many cases, what I've seen from many of the guys that I'm working with, their levels can be reduced by just their diet. And if the diet isn't working, there are other measures that they can take. But the statins have a huge problem in that they do cause muscle damage. And they also do cause memory lapses. And so that's another issue. If you are at work and you're not remembering certain things and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm getting old, because people tell you that you lose your memory when you're getting old. But in many cases, it's the medications that are causing it. And as a pharmacist, I can tell you it's not just social media that's talking about this. It's also many, many professional, doctors included, that are saying we need to stay away from some of these medications, especially high blood pressure medications, that are causing some of the damage that ultimately cannot be reversed. So if you have some of these issues, it may be something you want to talk to me about. Some people are on drugs, they're using drugs, and that will also affect your testosterone level significantly. So if there are issues that are going on, that you have a lifestyle issue that may be causing low T, that's something that we definitely want to address. Address it with your partner, address it with your doctor, address it amongst yourself. And this is possibly one of the reasons why I'm here talking to you, because I've seen the spectrum of things that could be causing a problem. So part of this is to actually be honest about what's going on in your life and taking the proper remedy or decision to do something different. But low T by itself will not just go away. Low testosterone levels will affect other aspects of your life, including self-image. So I suggest that if you have questions further, other than what we're talking about tonight, which gives you a landscape of some of the issues that may be affected by low testosterone and some of the things that may be causing low testosterone, I suggest you get your blood work done. Come on in and see me so we can take a look at it and see if I need to, get you to see someone else, your primary or your urologist or any of those professionals. Sometimes they'll give you medication for that. I've seen people who have been on medication for low T, and over time, they are not satisfied with it, so they essentially get off of it. Not only is it maybe not working as well as they'd like, but it's also very expensive, and sometimes they don't have insurance that cover that medication. So uh, there are other herbs and, guys come to me and ask me what to do. I go through the gamut of, exercising, getting your numbers, making sure that it's not affecting your family in a way that also is causing stress and anxiety, and it runs the gamut. But there are also herbs that are out there that men tend to want to use as soon as possible because they see this as an issue they have to address. And some of these herbs are helpful, but they're not the only thing that works. You know, the herbs work, but you also have to address the broader aspect of things that may be causing low T. Low T doesn't just affect men, it also affects the women. And a lot of women also have sexual anxieties and dysfunctions because of different reasons. The day-to-day run-of-the-mill stuff of taking care of the family, bringing kids to school, the stress of work and then running home to work, from work to home. Some women who have been abused in the past, some women who don't want to speak up in certain cases if the sexual life of the family is deteriorating, that may cause some anxiety. There's a whole host of issues that come along with low T. But I would suggest that if you're interested in some of the kind of conversations that I'm having with you right now, that, and if some of this is affecting you, very specifically, your sex drive, your muscle damage and strength, your muscle strength, um, and some of these other behavior or things that tells you that you are suffering low T, because sometimes people don't even know that there's something called low testosterone or low T. They just try kind of wonder what's going on with my body. How do I fix this? And so you are now a disciple. You can go out there and tell them, listen, this is what I hear that's happening. Maybe you want to go talk to Dr. Codling. Maybe she can help you. But that's what I would say is one of the main things that we should be talking about in the whole idea of men's health. Now, low T can also affect you in the sense that there may be a problem. Low T shows up as one of the major reasons for testicular cancer. And the problem with testicular cancer is that it's not necessarily in older men. It can be in young boys as well as in, as well as men up to 45 years old. And most of the time, it's something that's easily curable. But if you see the signs and you ignore them, then you could end up having a bigger problem later on. So testicular cancer can be damaging to a young man, even in the teens. And so what I would suggest is if you start seeing, you know, bumps around the body and places where near the testicles or in some of the immunity bearing things, like you start feeling bumps under the arm or in the groin, that thing, the kid should be going to see a doctor, because it's possible, not not that great, but it's still a possibility that you could have a young man, a child, before they even get to an age where they're talking about family members, that you may want to take care of it. Go in and see what's going on. And I say that because many of the times the testicular cancer will lead to infertility. And one of the ways that you can deal with it, if you notice it earlier on, is to isolate the sperm so that later on, when you get better, or the child gets better, or the young person gets better, they have a possibility of having a family. In many cases, we don't even talk about testicular cancer. And I'd like to start us on that conversation where we're actually talking to our boys to see what's going on. I want to stop there and see if you all have any questions, because we're running near the end.
Yeah. Yes, Doc. Before we go any further, we want to open up the floor for about 5 to 10 minutes if anyone have any question. But I
Mhm.
know you're gonna touch on the prostate a little bit too. But before we go there, if anyone have any question about what we're talking about now, please feel free.
Yeah, this is very good. Thank you. The one of the things I wanted to talk about. I'll be 57 2 months from today, August 24th.
Uh-huh.
And the last time I considered taking over-the-counter testosterone, like at CVS Pharmacy and so on. But before I endeavored to do that, I also did a research to ascertain the dangers. And one of the key things that was brought up was the effects, the negative effects on the kidney and so
Yeah.
on. And this is something that nobody wants to really get in an issue with, so I kind of left it alone. I don't know what's your, although they said uh, it's portion based, so you don't overdo it, don't take more than the allowable doses and so on and so forth. But what is your, I wanted to take it more or less for muscle growth because I have a gym at my home and I have issues because I wake up like 4:45 in the morning to get down to the city to work, and that's a huge problem because of the sleep pattern, So, and even when I come home, I feel sleepy, whereas I would be energetic enough to do to exercise, but because of waking up so early, then it affects that, So, what are specific food sources, and would you still recommend taking the over the counter testosterone and be careful.
Well, anything that's over the counter for me, unless it's been prescribed in such a way that you know that you're actually treating test low T, right? Because a lot of times people just go ahead and say, "Oh, I'm feeling this way." And yes, some of the conditions that you just described in terms of low energy and all of that is sometimes, and most of the times at a certain age, if you're seeing that pattern change, then you know that it has to do with possibly some hormonal changes. And by the way, I'm not getting away from your question, but there's a new person in town or condition in town called andropause, and similar to menopause, where the hormonal imbalances are taking place in a male, and it's not really recognized as such. So we see, men at a certain age involved in certain behavior and maybe having certain feelings, and yet nobody's addressing the fact that these hormonal imbalances, we spend a lot of time women with menopause and their hot flashes and all of that, but we don't spend a lot of time dealing with men and the issue with andropause. So you can just maybe take a look and look at some of the conditions that comes out of that. The over the counter, when you say over the counter, you're talking about supplements, correct? You're talking
Yeah.
about some of these herbs that are considered um, good for helping with low testosterone or just with libido in general, correct?
Yeah, supplements more or less for development and maintenance because as we grow older, I mean the way my physique was at in the early, I mean mid 20s, early 30s, even 40s is different. So I have to work harder now in order
Mm-hmm.
to gain a positive uh, muscle muscle mass,
Right. So I don't know a lot of the things that guys are using for just muscle, but I know that they are taking supplements that purports to have effect on the muscles, especially the testosterone levels and the DHT levels. But I also know that they take a lot of proteins, right? like creatine and the like. And
Yes.
as you touched on the kidneys, a lot of times some of these protein-based, some of these amino acid-based uh, uh, products can have an effect on the kidneys because remember, the kidney has to clear it,
Yeah.
right? It has
Yes.
to clear it out of the system. So an overuse of some of these protein-based products could also be having a negative effect.
Yes.
A lot of what you can, a lot of what I say to guys who come in and say they're taking protein and, heavy on protein, I also say that's good, but you can get some of those proteins from food,
Definitely.
right? And so what we can have is a conversation, and I'm not prepared to do that right now, but you have access to me and we can talk about that on an individual basis because it's not every one diet is not good for everybody because people have taste issues, people have allergies, people have all kinds of, things going on with the diet and how they eat, etc., that it has to be an individualized kind of thing, right?
Yes.
And also some of the proteins that I'm seeing and hearing about, I've never heard of them before. It's like people are making things up. But you have to, and a lot of times we want to get that because we hear our friends saying, "Oh, this is working for me, so you should try it." Um, I think that it really resolves about around you're sitting down with a health professional or somebody, at least somebody who knows what these things are to help guide you through um, what you're eating, what you're consuming, what you're putting in your body, and how it affects other organs such as the kidneys. And the kidneys for men is one of my issues because the kidney functions are diminished significantly when your body is under stress.
Yes.
And I see a lot of Black men with problems with the kidneys being that your GFR, your filtration rate, should be over 60 and above, or over 60. And a lot of men that I've looked at their blood work, they're down in the 15s and the fives.
Wow.
And the question is, why is this happening so much to Black men? And the answer is readily available if we just think about it. I don't think many guys are going to say to me, Marcia, when I walk down the street, I really am afraid. But you know what? A lot of guys are, they're putting on this bravado, but our men are under stress just walking down the street,
Yeah.
right? A cop could stop them. The next thing they're in jail, next thing they can't get out. And they have families and all of that. So the social environment sometimes have a lot to do with that as well. And some of this is conversations. I think Conroy is doing a wonderful thing because this one time is not enough to go through all of the issues that you're going to raise. You just raised like 5 issues, right? And you're one person. So I can
Yes.
imagine all the folks out there that have issues that we need to address on an ongoing basis. So that's my
Yes.
answer to you right now for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, brother Virgo. Doc, I want you to spend if I even about a 5 or 6 minutes on the prostate. And all other guys here wanna hear about that, and we know that that affect families too as well. But
Yeah.
I know it's 4 minutes to 10, and I know we take up a lot of your time because of the technical difficulties. But if you could share on that for a few minutes to enlighten
Good.
some of the members.
Good.
We have some ladies here too as well, online here too. So
Yes, I'm hoping they like the fact that I address some of the issues relating to low T. They themselves don't have low T, but the effect of low T circles around the family. The prostate is a big issue because of this one thing I'm going to say up front and then back into it. There's a level called the PSA, that after you get to a certain age, right around 50 or so, um, the prostate becomes a very important organ to watch because it if it is not functioning, you have a lot of side effects that you'll notice. First of all, you have an enlarged prostate, which is an issue. Secondly, you can be going to the bathroom a lot and you're trying to figure out, why am I going to the bathroom so frequently? And if you haven't had a test, if you haven't gone to see your doctor, and even so, I see a lot of people have gone to their doctors touching 45, 50, and the doctors haven't done a PSA level on them. PSA levels vary, of course, but the level that they measure, that they look at for men over 50, and I think I have some of these levels here. If you are in your 50s, under 50s, your level should be around 2.5 nanograms per liter. If you are around 60, if you start going over 3.5, they start wondering what's going on. And certainly if you're going over 20 nanograms, no matter what age you are, the doctors will want to know and actually try to diagnose what's going on with your prostate. Now, what we see though that's happening is that the doctors are either not doing anything, or when they do something, they go overboard. And we see that the prostate at a level of over 4 nanograms per liter um, start to become a focal point for the doctors, because they then want to do a biopsy. They want to do all these different tests and so on, of course, to see what's going on and if it's aggressive and whether it's cancer or just a prostate that's enlarged. The number that they always look at is right around 4, your PSA scores being over and about around 4. And if you have that number, they start talking about doing a biopsy. They start talking about, oh, well, it may be cancer, even without looking at it. And so I recommend to young men that they explore all the possibilities before they go and sit with a doctor and say, okay, now you can do chemo, you can do all these different tests. And some of them are coming, some of these tests are now less invasive. But one of the biggest problems I see with the prostate issue is that when you start taking biopsies of tissues that may be sitting in situ and not doing anything, they could then spread and become even more of a problem with cancer. Okay, and that's what we're finding. A big British study was done that shows that sometimes if you have those levels, all you do is you don't touch it at all. Men over 65, etc., possibly Black men especially, should not be doing anything, just leaving the prostate alone. Because sometimes, and I'm not saying all the time, sometimes it can be more of a problem than they're not doing anything. We also look at the aggressiveness of the cancer, again, because Black men have a physiology that gives them higher testosterone levels. It can become, the testosterone is sometimes the driver of the cancer. And so it can become even more aggressive than in, say, your white counterparts. And so again, there's this tendency to want to go in and start messing with the prostate before we even get a chance to look at the family to see if there are incidences of family having this problem, or did the family member have it and was able to live long and prosper without anybody going in. I am working with a few guys right now who 2 years ago they would have gone in and had radiation and chemo and all that. And you all are very familiar with all the tests right now. I don't want to get into all that, but they're still alive and the doctors are still watching it. And so it should be. It's not something where you're just gonna get it and next day you're gonna die. So I usually talk to guys about looking at the different scores. The Gleason score and some new scores that are coming up will show whether something is aggressive enough for you to just watch it or to do something to stem the problem, right? So you have options. It's not a thing where you're going to die tomorrow. And so I always have spoken at different venues that when a guy hears that he has an issue, some of it is purely that they need to change a few things. Um, Before, a lot of people were thinking that the Kegel, which is something that helps women with problems going urinating frequently, it's also good for the men. And those are things that should be introduced very quickly when we start seeing things like that, instead of running to go do stuff that may make it even worse for the person. So that's my take on the prostate. I would like to see people just sitting back more, getting more information, studying what's going on with their bodies before they run and listen to a doctor. I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to your doctor, but it should be with questions that says, is this something that I need to do right away, or is it something that we can watch, or is it something we don't do at all? And
Amen.
we're finding now that more guys in their 60s and 70s are just leaving their prostate there.
Amen. Amen. Let me stick up it right here, Doc. If
Mhm.
anyone have any question, it's 6 minutes after 10. If anyone have any question, please feel free, because the doc is here to answer your question and to help us. We know we're gonna have her back very soon, because we did have some difficulties earlier on to get the Zoom up and running. We were expecting a lot more people, but some people couldn't get on, so they leave it alone. So if anyone have any question, feel free.
Good night, this is Brother Christy.
Yeah, Brother
Um,
Christie.
how you doing? How you doing? Thanks. Thanks for taking the time to spend with us and for the great information that you're giving us. One of the things that I would like to find out about is concerning men. They talk about estrogen. There's the female hormone that they say also, that they say is affecting men and affecting the way that the testosterone operates in men, because it tends to change the natural origin in a man. You notice some men start with getting boobs and a huge belly, beer belly, and loss of muscle mass and all of that. So if you have any form of information concerning the estrogen, that because I get to find out that also it's in a lot of the food that we're eating and even in some drink that we are consuming. So it's affecting us without we know the source of where it's coming from. If you have any information or any highlights that you could talk a little bit about the estrogen that
Sure.
is in men, it's affecting us. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm happy you asked that question, mainly because the hormones that we're talking about are in both men and women, right? Estrogen, men have estrogen hormones as well. Women have, they have progesterone. I mean, it's a balancing of the hormones that are important. And so, yes, if you have an excess of estrogen versus another testosterone, let's say, you could definitely see, um, some of these issues that you're talking about. But just low T alone can be an issue. I wouldn't focus as much on the estrogen right now, only because, again, remember we talked about menopause versus andropause. And that's basically what we're talking about, is the balancing of the hormone. Now, when a woman comes to me and she has a hot flashes and all of that, I am able to give her a number of the herbs and things that will even more effective, because I don't have too many things that's effective for what you're talking about. It's really balancing the hormones. And I see that in many cases in the past, they've been giving women estrogen to help them to counter some of the hot flashes and things, and that can also lead to cancer. As far as the men are concerned with the muscle loss and the like, it's some of the things that we just talked about. But there is hormone balancing that can be done, and we're still investigating how to go about balancing the hormones in men, because doctors aren't talking about it. The first thing you go is they're just giving you hormones to take that essentially could cause cancer in the long term. Your hormones are made out of a lot of times out of cholesterol. Many of you guys are on cholesterol medication, women too, of course. But when you take those cholesterol lowering medications, it could also be lowering your hormones, because that's what it does. It reduces your cholesterol levels, and sometimes you need your cholesterol levels. And the big thing is to tell you that if you don't lower those levels, you're going to have a heart attack. And people respond to that much more than them saying, you're going to lose muscle mass, right? And in many of the cases, in particular, the statin medications, they do have effect on your muscles. They hurt, and you lose muscles. And in addition, you lose focus. It has, and that's only one medication. There are many, and I'm about to publish a paper on some of these medication side effects that are worse than the illness that they're trying to cure. So in essence, what I'm saying to you is I wouldn't necessarily focus on the estrogen itself, but there are a lot of things that are causing these issues that you raise, including the fact that a simple thing like your water bottle, right? A lot of guys are drinking water and they're saying, I'm not drinking water from the tap. I'm going to, pop open my bottle of water, but it has plastics. And plastics are considered one of the biggest issue right now with men growing breasts, right? It reduces your hormone balance. There are a whole host of issues that are surrounding our diet and the food that we're eating, and you're right to raise that are causing more of the problem and the damage than it is, let's say estrogen. I wouldn't focus on estrogen. I'd say hormonal balance is important, and we need to get to that. All right? Does that answer your question?
Amen.
Yes, thank you so kindly. I appreciate that. Yes.
And you can talk to me some more. You have access to me
So,
to talk about what are some of the things that you can do dietarily to start giving you back your muscles and helping you focus more specifically on the things that are healthful, as opposed to, I know there's a lot on social media about estrogen, but it's still about balancing, because women have the same problem. They grow hair on their faces and have muscle issues. And, so both male, female have to balance these hormones to make it work for them.
amen. One other thing before you go, you did touch on the kidney,
Yeah.
and I was listening to a documentary where this man was saying that if you're not only frequently urinating, but if your urine develop a lot of
If it's frothy.
frothy, yeah. So they're
Yeah.
saying
If
that
it's frothy.
you're losing protein, and it's a clogged liver. I mean kidney that causes to frothy. How bad is that if it's being experienced by a man?
Well, that's one of the reasons I raised the whole issue of protein, right? Because most of the times when you start seeing frothy urine, it means that you're having excess protein in your urine. And is it because of the additives that you're using, or is it just your body not processing right? And or both. And so again, that requires you to have a sit down with your physician and to get that blood test done so we can see all of the different, there's so many panels that you can do, including the hormonal panels, both male and female, to really get to the heart of what's going on in your body. But over and above just the frothiness and all of this that's going on, a lot of it is anxiety and stress. And it's really affecting the kidneys, especially in Black men. If you look at who's getting dialysis these days, it will tell you a good story about what's going on in the bodies of our men, and the fact that they're under tremendous amount of stress ongoing all the time, right? And so how do you fix the stress? There are lots of things that you can do to fix the stress, including just your diet and exercise and all of that. But that sounds kind of like water is wet, right? But if you think about doing certain exercises, eating certain foods on an ongoing basis, not just eat it once in a while and say, oh, I don't like the taste or whatever. But if we can sit and put together a program for you, we can get around some of these issues, because you're seeing people live to long, long years. And they will tell you they didn't do anything fancy. They just ate the right foods. So we need to go back and look at some of this. I mean, I see people going to Whole Foods and looking at the numbers on the bottle and saying, if I eat this, it's not organic. And then we find out that they're getting the foods from China, you know? So, and it's not organic. So we really need to spend some time now just thinking about what we eat, how we eat, when we eat, and just the idea of sitting around the table eating with the family sometimes reduces that level of stress. There are all kinds of things we can put in this, but the most important thing is that you're looking at the numbers. You're getting to the ground floor of what's going on, and then you don't have to guess about what's going on, why your urine is frosty. Your blood doesn't lie. It will tell you right away. And so I'm insisting and saying to the people who are listening to me that if you haven't had, and especially the men, if you haven't had a physical in a while, and you're seeing some of these issues coming up, then you need to make an appointment. And if you can't find a good doctor, ask. I have a list of doctors I can refer you to and all that, so that they're really giving you, as you say, the talk, right? That you should have, that will allow you to understand what your body is doing and what you need to do.
Amen. Amen. Anyone else have any question for doctor?
Yeah. Yes, very good again. Concerning the prostate cancer, prostate issues, number one is infrequent release of spermatozoa, or in other words, frequent sexual intercourse.
I didn't hear that. Frequent one?
Brother Virgo, you're breaking up.
Intercourse is infrequent release of spermatozoa, or a contributing factor to prostate cancer, and otherwise is frequent sexual intercourse a good thing to minimize um, um, prostate cancer. The other part to that is, does anatomy play a role in that, in terms of different men have different sizes of testicles or sexual organs, differences. And the third part is, other factors such as smoking, lifestyle, or probably injury determining or contributing factor to spermatozoa, or even work, such as working in chemicals like a body man who sprays and so on. The other chemicals contribute to that.
Ditto. All of that, lifestyle issues, the environment, we talked about that, the water you drink. But when it comes to whether or not the release of sperm is an issue, I think that's an individual thing. It's not a wide open, this is happening and so therefore we're having cancer. I think that again, we need to, if you have that issue, I think you need to talk to your doctor about it, but not jump to the conclusion that that may be what's going to cause cancer. You understand what I'm saying? It's an
Yes, yes.
individual thing. And I think we need to spend more time looking at what's happening in our bodies as opposed to what could be happening broadly. All right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, doctor.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Amen. Anyone else have any question for Doc?
I haven't heard from the women. What are they asking? Any women
Anyone,
on there?
anyone of the ladies have any question for Doc? Or probably they shy tonight.
Listen, come on in and see me. We can talk.
If they don't want to say it here around the guys, I have Dr. Codling number. You guys can reach out to me. I can, produce you with the link, with the different links for her.
Yeah, they can go on my site. I have a lot of herbs as we get to closing. I have probably one of the best hormone balancing um, formula that I've been making for years for women who come to me with issues that require hormone balancing, not just menopause, PCOS, women who um, haven't had hadn't had until that time had a period where they just weren't in total pain, bleeding, lots of bleeding, and not being able to even go to school, a lot of them vomiting. It's all about the hormones. And when you're able to balance those hormones, whether it's male or female, and we're going to start looking more at balancing men's hormones because they're showing that there are issues that are coming about. And it's unfortunate that it's taking so long. That process of balancing the hormone is very important. The process of not reducing um, uh, enzymes and other types of body stuff that's in the body that's working to help you to decrease it with medication, like as in the case of cholesterol, where we know that cholesterol builds all of the hormones. And if you're suppressing that whole process, then you're going to get all kinds of problems. And I would say um, uh, to my friend who asked about the suppression of various the change in estrogen and the suppression of other hormones is that we need to really start looking clearly at the medications that we're taking because to a great extent a lot of those are not, and I can tell you, I'm telling you as a pharmacist that a lot of those medications are causing more problems than we know.
That's true.
And sometimes the doctor will beat you over the head. You got to take it. You got to take it. In many cases, they're just pawns of the pharma industry, you know. And so I have patients who come to me. They say they don't want to take these cholesterol reducing medication, and they go back to the doctor, and the doctor tell them, if you don't take it, you're going to have a heart attack. So what do you do as a person without knowledge who is being confronted with this kind of thing, and you feel like you're putting yourself in jeopardy because you're not doing these things, when in fact these things are causing you problems. All right.
Amen. 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 Anyone else have any question before we wrap up? We know we're gonna have the doc back here to speak on a lot more different issues that is going on in our community. So anyone else have any question?
Yes, doctor. What is your number one advice to us husbands and men who are living with a spouse experiencing perimenopause, premenopause, or menopause, in a sense of everything?
Call me. Call me. I mean, hormonal balancing. I have held on to my formula for hormone balancing. I've been approached by so many manufacturers to give them that formula, and I'm not doing it because I have doctors calling me and say, whatever you're doing with that, just continue doing it because we have, as I said, and this is another session we're going to talk about. I know you guys have been hinting at it, but there are a lot of herbs that are out there. I've written and I'm writing a series in Carib News on the power of herbs, where moringa, for instance, is a wonderful thing to drink. But we're not talking about all of those herbs tonight. There may be a session that we're going to come together and talk about the herbs that are important in fueling your body and your muscles and the like. And the fact that God gave us all these wonderful herbs, the pharmaceutical industry took have taken herbs and synthesized it down to the point where they give it to you for these conditions that the herbs were made for, were created for, and then you end up getting the side effects because they're too strong, right? And so we know that there are herbs out there. I'm studying moringa right now. Moringa is a way to increase your sperms, taking that. Moringa is also a way to cause abortion. You can have one herb in your house that does both. And so it depends on us to really get to learn about what we have been provided and to see how we can utilize it. And I know there aren't too many people out there talking about this. One of the few out there. There are a lot of herbalists that they just want to get you in their palms and they charge you $2,000-3,000 just to give you a reading. Where we should be teaching people what the herbs are, what they're good for, and also not have people drinking some moringa one morning and say, oh, well, it didn't help me. Nothing works like that. The Chinese will tell you, small amount of something, whatever that herb is that you're using to cure something, over time, it's not designed to knock you over the head like the pharmaceutical industry, and then you're out of it. Now, I'm not banging the pharmaceutical industry because I'm a pharmacist and I know things that work. But at the same time, we have people who have access to certain herbs and they'll look at me and say, oh, how does that taste? What does it matter how it tastes if you can figure out a way to get it into your body to make it work and minimize the side effects that you're having from these pharmaceuticals? So that's just the bottom line.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm not hearing any, so we're ready to go?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up for now, Doc, because I don't see anyone else having any question.